Hey, what's going on, food chesters? Hope you're doing well. Top of the day to you. Thank you guys again for walking with me. Thanks for all your subscriptions and your comments on all my videos. So if you're already aware, you understand that Burkina Faso, particularly Ibrahim Traore, has been under some scrutiny by the US government regarding certain things, right? If you've watched the video, people are just like, oh, this US is back again in this, criticizing and all that stuff. But there are certain details in the video as to why this is relevant. And I'm going to kind of go into details and explanation of some of those details. And I'm going to highlight them after we kind of take a review of the video. So I'm going to put the video on the screen, and afterwards I'm just going to go over some important things to take away from the video as it relates to like Africa relations and things that were mentioned specifically in the video as well. All right, just watch.
Imagine a situation, though, in which the ruling elite of a country is receiving gratuities on the side that in order to the benefit of the strongman leader and not to the populace of the country. Does that sort of corruption and bribery go on with regard to the Belt and Road?
Absolutely, Chairman. I see this, and I don't mind calling them out, but Captain Traore and Burkina Faso, as they know that both, whether it's their gold reserves, that is all those proceeds are just in exchange to protect the junta regime. There's a number of examples across. Even in.
All right. So a couple of things in this video, right? So one thing, before I proceed, actually, so AFRICOM. So if you know the general here, it's the commander of AFRICOM. So AFRICOM, basically what that stands for is United States Africa Command. So it's like a unification of army personnel or combatants from the U.S. Department of Defense. So the basic mission of AFRICOM is to counter threats, strengthen security forces, and respond to crises in Africa in order to advance U.S. national interests and promote regional security, stability, and prosperity. Prosperity, I would think, is prosperity of the U.S., or is it prosperity of African countries? I don't understand, but it's interesting to know that the headquarters of AFRICOM is in Germany, which is interesting. So that's one point, one background information about this. So now, if you listen to the video, you understand that the representative asking the questions mentioned Belt and Road Initiative. Now, what is the Belt and Road Initiative? So this is an initiative that has been in place since 2013, and China is the leader of this initiative. So basically, it was created by China, and it's a massive project. The aim is to enhance global connectivity and trade by connecting China with various continents through land and sea routes. So that's one thing. Now, if you are following with what is happening in the world today, you understand why this is relevant to the U.S. vis-a-vis Burkina Faso and China. Now, the interesting part of this is that Burkina Faso, as of last year, began to be very much interested in the Belt and Road Initiative. So Burkina Faso has been participating and has been cooperating and deepening cooperation with China in areas such as economic and trade, energy, civil aviation, and the livelihood of its citizens. So this is why the US is concerned. And again, China has been doing this with a lot of African countries, but the Belt and Road Initiative is the focal point of this whole debate. Now that's one. So now other points mentioned in the video. One, the representative mentioned gratuity, right? And then after he mentioned gratuity, he went on to say bribery. Now, we all know what gratuity means. We all know what bribery means. Now, this is my take, my future take on this. Now, bribery is something that when it comes to developing countries, it's something that is frowned upon, right? Nobody is promoting bribery, but bribery is used by almost every country in this world. Some people call it scratch my back, I scratch your back. Some people call it carrots and sticks. Some people call it quid pro quo, and a whole bunch of other things, right? So now bribery becomes a problem when it's used to enrich only one person at the detriment of other, the masses, which I'm sure that is not what Ibrahim Traore has been doing. But that will become a concern if that is the case. But in general, bribery is something that is not only pertinent to African countries or developing countries, it's also much, much prevalent in the West and in developing countries as well. So that's one thing. Another thing that was mentioned is gold, right? So, of course, the general mentioned that Burkina Faso is using its gold. So basically what they're insinuating is that Burkina Faso is using the gold as a way to attract either China and also to enrich, the elite in Burkina Faso. Now, I don't know what's going on in Burkina Faso. I'm not from there, but from what I'm hearing so far, is like people are very much appreciative of what Ibrahim Traore is doing. Now, my take on the gold thing is that whether he's using the gold or he's not using it, the gold belongs to the country. So the country has freedom on however it wants to use its gold. So whether Ibrahim Traore is using it to protect himself, the country, or whatever, as long as he's doing it in relevance to the protection of his people or to the advancement of the people of Burkina Faso, I don't see any problem with it. Another thing basically is that, this is why it's not good for African countries to tie themselves so much, whether it comes to security, development, and any other thing, to other countries, not only developing countries, but any country in the world. When you tie yourself to too many countries, when you want to liberate yourself, it becomes harder. And now that Burkina Faso is trying to do that, it's going to be difficult if it has various attachments that it had to have in order to get to this point. So I'm really, rooting for the people of Burkina Faso to kind of do what they need to do in order to make their country better. And again, this goes back, and again, another thing that was mentioned by the general is junta. Talking about enriching the junta regime. Of course, we know junta indicates military rule, which is what most of these countries are under, and it is frowned upon by a lot of Western countries. And you know what my stance is on this? My stance has always been that democracy, yes, people, de facto, it's fine and great. It looks sexy on the books, but it might not be the best form of governance for every country on the continent. We see a lot of countries that do not subscribe, heavily to democracy, and they're still doing well. So I think the main thing is that, are the people good? Are they living a very good life? Is the economy thriving? If these things are good, are human rights in place? People are not being exploited, people are not being taken advantage of. If everything is working for a country, it doesn't matter what you call their way of governance, as long as it's working for the populace, I think it's fine. But again, there's always going to be a stereotype by people who don't subscribe to whatever government that is not democratic. So yeah, I don't know what you guys think about what's going on. Do you think there are other underlying issues that the West or the US specifically is trying to highlight when it comes to Ibrahim Traore? People in the country of Burkina Faso, is Ibrahim Traore really doing what we see that he's doing, or do you think that he has other plans in place? I'll definitely like to hear comments, and let's have the discussion on this. All right, till next time, it's Food Chairs, guys. Peace.